Okay, everyone. I hope all of you are doing good. So, today's goal is to solve November 2024 IB MYP Standard Mathematics paper. So, question number one says label the graphs by dragging the matching equations to the correct place. So, the graph that you have here in front of you, you're supposed to match it correctly. Okay. Now, how do we attempt this question? Now, in front of us, we have this line. Now, we can see that the point where it intersects the x-axis. Now this line intersects the x-axis, right? So we should definitely cancel the option of y equals 3 and y equals negative 3 because it's intersecting at the x-axis. Now since this is 0, so like this is the origin point and the line is on the right side of the origin point, so we can definitely assume that this line demonstrates x equals positive 3, right? Okay. And the green line, of course, it's intersecting the y-axis. So for the green line's perspective, we can eliminate the two options of y values being x values being represented. And of course, since it's below the origin point, so we'll consider this as y equals negative 3. So I assume this is something that you must be well aware of. This question belongs to coordinate geometry. You're supposed to drag the equations. How many questions? How many marks? I think it's a 7 mark question in total. And this part is supposed to be, I guess, 1 mark, not more, if not. Okay. So the blue line, we can see this evidently that this has a positive gradient, right? This blue line is having a positive gradient. So we can eliminate the options of negative gradients. First things first. And the y-intercept is below the origin point. The y-intercept is below the origin point. So automatically we'll assume that the blue line represents this equation y equals 2x minus 3. And simultaneously the green line here represents a negative axis, a negative gradient, right? So we'll eliminate the ones with blue. So, the first thing that you should do in these types of questions is eliminate the wrong options because instantly all options seem correct. But if you try to eliminate, and this is a very extraordinary tip that I'm giving you all, I applied this in many things like in SATs and in MCQs of my A levels exams. I did A levels, not DP. So, but this technique works. So, here we have a negative gradient and the same y-intercept because this is intersecting the y-axis at the same point, and here it was negative 3, so here it should also be negative 3. This becomes y equals negative 2x minus 3. I hope this makes sense. um, this is something new. Well, it shouldn't be. First things first, we should try our best to convert these equations in the form of y equals mx plus c. Okay, so we can write this we can write the first equation as 2y equals 3 minus x and y equals minus 1 over 2x plus 3. And this line is going to become 2y equals negative 3 minus x and y equals 1 over 2, in fact negative 1 over 2x minus 3 over 2. Sorry, this would also be 3 over 2. So this is what these two lines become. So let me just write them down in front of each other. This one here and oh, this one here. Now in front of us, now although this won't make direct sense to you this way, but you can see that both of these lines have positive gradients and both of these lines are representing negative gradients. So automatically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to delete two options and I'm left with these two now. But which one is assigned to which one? So look, if I rearrange this equation to form x plus 3 equals 2y and 1 over 2x plus 3 over 2, equals y. So basically what I did is that I took negative 3 to this part of the equation and minus 2y to this part of the equation. So both become positive. So in one case, look, the gradient is going to be same. They're parallel lines. So this one is also going to have the same gradient of 1 by 2. But here the y-intercept is 3 over 2, which is a positive value. And here the y-intercept would be negative 3 over 2, which is a negative value, right? So what do we do? This line, the blue line, will be written as x minus 2y equals minus 3, and the green line would be this one, x minus 2y equals positive 3. I hope this all makes sense to you. Okay, this comes the trickiest. This is by far the trickiest part, but still not too difficult. Look, this shape is called a parabola. It's basically the shape that is created by a quadratic equation. X value is negative 1 and x value is negative 3. X value is positive 1 and x value is positive 3. 1 minus x equals to 0. Basically, 1 minus x equals 0. X moves to the other side. 1 equals x. So yeah, x equals to 1 and x equals negative 3. And x equals negative 1. And here x equals positive 3. So basically what have I done? What I've done is that I had to find the original value of x. Okay. So in quadratic equations, when we reach this step at the end, what do we do next? The next step that we usually take, the final step that we usually take, is that we um, change the sign which is inside of the bracket, and we assume its opposite value. So if I write x plus 1 equals 0, so x moves to the 1 moves to the other side of the equation and becomes minus 1, right? Okay. Now focus on the blue parabola. The blue parabola has both positive values. So we can eliminate this option, as this has 1 minus 1 and minus 3. This one has 1 and 3. Sorry, this is x equals negative 3. Okay, x plus 3 equals 0, x equals negative 3. So this one will be eliminated and this one will be eliminated. So you are left with this option, y equals x minus 1 into x minus 3. And when it comes to this part, why did I remove that one? Here it was minus 1 and positive 3 minus. And focusing on this part, the green parabola now. Now the green parabola has one negative value and one positive value, right? So we can eliminate this one, and this one has the first one has been used. The second one won't be used because this consists of both positive values. Yeah. Okay. The second one is the one that has been eliminated because we have used it. X minus 1 and x minus 3, right? Both positive values. Here we have one positive and one negative. So this criteria is fulfilled by both of them, because here is 1 and negative 3. Here is negative 1 and positive 3. But how do we identify? Now look, negative 3 is supposed to be this value and 1 is supposed to be this value. Why? Because if you look at the magnitude, 1 is closer to 0, right? And negative 3 is further away from 0. So automatically we will assume that this is going to be the answer as 1 minus x and x plus 3. Because 3 is further away and 1 is closer. I hope this makes sense to you. Okay, shading and Venn diagrams. So the first question was of 7 marks and it took us roughly 9 minutes to solve it. We have to pace up a little bit. So the two sets A and B are intersecting as seen in the Venn diagram below. Select the shadings that represent the sets in the Venn diagrams below. Okay. A complementary. A complementary means everything except for A, right? So we'll shade that using this method. Everything except for A. If you people do not understand the concept, first things first, it should be well aware. You people should be well aware of these concepts at least by the month of March, 2 months before the exams, to get a 7. But even if you people are not, so please drop in the comment section. Uh, Type something that you need some sort of help so that we can arrange sessions with you. Okay, so this would be your answer, everything except for A. Then it says A complementary intersection B. This is a bit tricky. Let's do it here. Okay, let's just do it here as well. We can do it here. A complementary intersection B. What does that mean? We'll do that in two parts. First, let's circle A complementary. Oops. Yeah. Let's just do everything except for B. Except for A, I meant. Now, what next? Intersection B. Let's circle B as well. Let's like highlight B as well. But now look, what do you have in between? You have in between an intersection. I have taught my students that in such situations, intersection means the overlapping portion. Overlapping. So which part is essentially overlapping? If I was to consider this, look, only this part is the one that is going to be overlapping, right? This one. So realistically, we don't need this. This part does not have to be done. Oops. Okay, I'll just shade it. And only the red part, that was this portion, this one, because the overlapping portion, which was overlapped by both of the colors. That's why I use different colors to make sure everything's clear in front of you. A intersection union B. A intersection union B. Sorry, A complementary union B. What's wrong with me? I'm really sorry, guys. A complementary. Everything except for A, right? Everything except for A. So now we have shaded everything except for A. Now we'll have to shade B as well. Now we'll have to shade B as well. So I'm going to shade the entirety of B. And here you go. That's the answer. Okay, this is going to be the answer. Because why? What happens? What's the difference between intersection and union? Well, I'm not supposed to be teaching this in class, in a solution session, but I'm just teaching it to you. Focus on intersection as overlapping portion. That overlapping portion is the only region that is required. Here in union, a combined portion is required. Okay, I hope this makes sense. There are 24 students in a class. Of these, 15 play the guitar, 12 play the drums, 4 play neither. Okay. Determine the missing values in the Venn diagrams. 2 mark question. Not a difficult one, I suppose. 4 play neither, so you can write 4 instantly here. Okay. And 15 play the guitar, and 8 of those 15 only play the guitar, like play only the guitar. So automatically we know that 15 minus 8 becomes 7. So 7 is going to be the value here. 12 play the drums. So this becomes 12 minus 7. This is going to become positive 5. Okay. A student is selected at random. Determine the probability that this student plays only one musical instrument. That's the criteria. Okay. Whenever plays only one. Okay. There are 24 in total, right? And how many number of students play only one? 8 plus 5, 8 plus 5. So this becomes 13 over 24. This was not a difficult question. 3 students are selected at random. Determine the probability that the 3 students do not play any musical instruments. Okay, this is somewhat new. Okay, so our selected and remember probably that the three students do not play any musical instruments. So there were four students that did not play any of them. Now, if you were to solve this question, so this question should be attempted in this way that there are four students, right? And there are four out of 24. Now, there is no replacement being mentioned in this place. So it does not say that those students are replaced with each other. So automatically, when there were 24 in total and one was selected and he was removed. So now you're left with 23. And of course, one value is going to be decreased from the numerator. And once again, there are a total of three that were selected, right? So 2 over 22. So if I type that on a calculator, um, if I type this on a calculator, I'm going to get an answer of 1 over 506 as my final answer. Okay. Oh, this makes sense to all of you. Aaron is comparing the rainfall. Okay, that's not necessary. This is a good question. On the canvas below, draw the box and whisker plot for 2021. Okay, do we have some more information? No. Look, hmm, for 80 days, okay? The comparison is for 80 days. So this is a tricky question. But look, in front of us, um, the half of 80 is 40, right? So the 40 is the mean value, like the middle value, right? Median, sorry, not the mean. Okay, 40 is supposed to be representing the middle. So in a box and whisker plot, what happens is that if we want to take the median value is supposed to be on the exact position where it was above, like this roughly, almost like this. It has to be a little bit on the left, exactly above the line on the red, right? Because this represents the median. I'm just revising it. This represents upper quartile. This represents upper quartile. This line represents median. This line represents lower quartile. Okay, and we can also solve it like this through this. Yep, exactly on the dot. Okay, now what about the lower quartile? Let's start with the upper quartile. The upper quartile is the formula for the upper quartile is 3n. No. In fact, 3 over 4 basically. 3 over 4n, right? 3 over 4n. So we have total of 80 days. So 3 multiplied by 80 over 4, which becomes 60. So the 60th day, this is supposed to be the upper quartile. And the lower quartile is of course going to be the 20th day. So here if we extrapolate the graph completely, this is where we reach, and then this is the point where we reach. So here's your answer. This is how you're supposed to complete this graph. And one thing that was supposed to be at the end, just extract this line completely. Okay, so that's how you're going to solve it. I hope this makes sense to all of you. Look, these types of questions, these are quite similar. I mean, these questions, you don't have a lot of variation in concepts like these, right? You don't have a lot of variation. But still, if you people need any sort of help, write it in the comment section. We'll have classes. I usually take classes 5 to 6 days a week. So yeah, not an issue for me. Compare the median and the interquartile range for the two distributions. Look, it's evident here in front of us, um, the medians were same, were absolutely same, crystal clear in front of us, right? The medians were same. So we can say that medians are of the same exact value. Um, yeah. And what about the interquartile range? The interquartile range, as I explained earlier on, so for the 2021 value, the interquartile range is supposed to be higher. Why? Because as I explained, this is the upper quartile, this is the lower quartile, right? This is the upper quartile and this is the lower quartile. So the gap in this range is quite a lot as compared to in 2021's range. It's quite a lot, right? So you have to mention that the interquartile range, I'm just writing IQR, you should be mentioning interquartile range completely, for 2021 is larger than 2022, and you have to, since there is comparison, so it's ideally you should also be mentioning, some sort of an equation that, not an equation, an explanation rather, that as the range, not the range, in fact the spread is more, the data is more spread or whatever, the spread is more. So yeah, that's going to be good enough. Okay, the diagram shows the right angle triangle ABC. Show that BC equals 4 to the nearest unit. Try this question. So I tell my students that whenever we are looking at a right angle triangle, consider three things in mind: the Pythagoras theorem, the trigonometric ratios, and the area, which is 1 over 2 multiplied by base times height. Okay, so we can write this as 8 square plus BC squared equals 9 squared. 78 squared 64 plus BC squared equals 81. BC squared equals 81 minus 64. BC squared equals 17, and BC equals under root of 17. So if you were to solve under root of 17 on the calculator, you would get an answer of 4.12. So correct to the nearest unit, the 10th unit, it's definitely closest to 4. Okay, very easy question. You should, or everyone should be getting 2. Even the ones that might getting 3 and 4 in your final exam, even you should be getting 2 in these. Hence, determine the area of the triangle ABC. Always remember that whenever you see the word hence, you should use the previous part. So this area was 4. So the formula that you're going to be using is going to be 1 over 2 multiplied by base of 8 multiplied by 4. Be very careful, never use the hypotenuse for calculating the height. Height is supposed to be, this is basically called the slant height or the length. Not the length exactly, just the slant height. So don't confuse this with this part as height. This is the, what you call the hypotenuse. Okay, so 1 over 2 multiplied by 8 and 4, so this becomes, cancels out, so 8 times 2 becomes 16 units squared. Okay, the areas of the trapezium BCFD and the area of the triangle ABC are in a ratio. ABC is the one for which we've just found out the area, right? So that was 16. 16. So how do we solve it for x? X is going to be considered as the area of the trapezium. So just cross multiplication. So x equals to 16 times 3, which becomes 48. So yeah, BCFD, this entire trapezium. this one, this one, right? So this entirety of this is basically it's multiplied, right? So it's just a basic question of ratios. The line AB is extended in trapezium. BCFD is formed as shown in the in the diagram. Determine FD. Okay, FD is this value, right? Oh, FD, the entirety of this. This is ED, which is 4. This is 6. How do we do that? Okay, yeah, we can you understand it this way. That look, this was the entire trapezium, right? What's the formula for the area of a trapezium? Area of a trapezium is 1 over 2 multiplied by height multiplied by sum of parallel sides. Sum of parallel. This is not 11, this just means parallel sides. So, can we say, and all of this equals 48. Height is going to be 6 because imagine this trapezium put down in this way. Okay, so height is going to be 6. Be careful, don't consider the height as 4. So, can we say that 48 equals 1 over 2 multiplied by 6 multiplied by sum of both parallel sides. So 4 plus FD, the entire value of FD, right? We can say this. So 48 goes to this part of the equation. This becomes 48 over 2, which becomes 24. Oh no, sorry. This multiplies. This multiplies. My bad. So 96 equals 6 multiplied by 4 plus FD. Okay, why am I not solving this here? I should be solving it on this part of the equation. And now, if we move 6 to this part of the equation, we get 96 over 6, which becomes 16, equals 4 plus FD. And if you want to find the value of FD, this is going to be 16 minus 4 equals FD. And FD equals positive 12. So that's the final answer. Okay. Don't use marking schemes while you're solving questions. While you're solving questions, don't use the marking scheme. Once you're done, use it then. Okay. This trick is going to help you out a lot. Find the size of angle FCE. So we just calculated this entire length. This entire length was giving us an answer of positive 12, right? And this one was supposed to be positive 4. And this one was supposed to be positive 8, right? And this one was, if this one was positive 8, this one is going to be positive 6, isn't it? Okay. Now let's apply the trigonometric ratios. Um, this is going to be considered as, okay, I think most of you might use a some people have strategy. So 6 will be considered the base, and this one is going to be considered the perpendicular. So you can write tan of theta equals base over perpendicular, which becomes, mm, in fact, no, it's the other way around. So perpendicular is 8 over base of 6. Theta equals tan inverse of 8 over 6. If we were to solve tan inverse of 8 over 6, we would get an answer of 53.13. 53.13. Right? I hope all of this makes sense. So in 30 minutes, we have solved 29 marks. That's great. But I'm sure we're getting full as of yet. A symmetrical smiley face is plotted using a 2 points, a line, and a parabola. Oh, this paper is, I think it's especially the statistics paper and question and some parts of the first one. It is a bit difficult as compared to the normal papers of standard mathematics. But yeah, no worry, we'll try. Now, question number 5, part A says that you have to determine the missing coordinates. How 3 marks it is. Look, the vertex, which is the turning point, you people know that it's written in the form of a into x minus h whole square plus k, right? And the turning point's coordinate is given as h comma k. So the different a different sign of what is present inside and the same sign of what is present of outside, right? So vertex becomes 4 comma -1, right? So this is the general idea. This line, how do you determine this line? Now look, this is the vertex and this line is going to be extending downwards, right? This line, generally what does it do? It extends downwards. So can I write this as x equals -4? Oh, sorry, x equals 4 because the value of this is supposed to be, first things first, is supposed to be positive as it's going to intersect at the x-axis. What do we do about this? Now look, this is the y-axis that I've drawn. Now on the y-axis, the value of the y-coordinate remains same. The value of the y-coordinate remains same. So if it is 3.5 here, it's also supposed to be 3.5 here, right? Great. And what about this point? Look, about this point, what we can see here in front of us is that the difference between these two coordinates is of +1. So the difference between these two coordinates is also supposed to be +1, right? Isn't it? The difference between these two coordinates is also supposed to be +1. So that gives you an answer of, here it was +4. What's wrong? And here it becomes +5. So yeah, here's your answer. So it looks very difficult, but if you understand the general idea, and if your quadratics is strong, so it's not going to be a difficult question. By expanding the bracket, show that y equals half into x minus 4 whole square minus 1. Okay, great. Let's expand this part first, x minus 4 whole square. This can be written as x minus 4 multiplied by x minus 4. X into x becomes x squared, and x multiplied by -4 becomes -4x. -4 multiplied by x becomes -4x, and -4 multiplied by -4 becomes +16. This leaves us with x squared minus 8x +16, right? But here's the twist. Now look, this x minus 4 whole square, initially it was being multiplied with 1 over 2, right? As you can see. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to multiply this by 1 over 2. So this gives us a final answer of 1 over 2 x squared minus 4x plus 8. But we have -1 present here. So when we subtract 1 from it, we get 1 over 2 x squared minus 4x plus 8 minus 1 becomes +7. I hope this all is clear. Let's move forward. calculate the coordinates of the x-intercepts of the parabola. Look, what does it mean by x-intercepts of the parabola? This basically means solve for x. Solve for x, which means find the value of x. So there are two methods for this. First method is the middle term breaking, and the other one is the formula, the quadratic formula, the minus b plus minus under root b square minus 4ac upon 2a. So what do we use? Hmm. This was the equation 1 over 2x squared minus 4x plus 7. Let's move downwards. Now, in order to find, okay, one big thing. If it says nearest to one decimal place, you should use the quadratic formula. This is a very big strategy. Now, I'm not going to explain the reason behind it. Why do we do it here? But just try to understand it that if it says nearest to one decimal place or nearest to two decimal places, you're supposed to use the quadratic formula. Now, mathematicians didn't like the idea of us having a fraction in front of x. So what do is that we multiply the entire equation by 2. This becomes x squared minus 8x plus 14 because 2's cancel out, and but 2 still multiplies with 4 and 7. Now let's apply the formula. Minus b plus minus under root of b square minus 4 ac divided by 2a. So if you were to solve this equation, first do it with plus and the next time do it with minus. So what answers are we getting? One of the answers that I'm getting is 5 point wait, oh no, 5.41, and the other answer that I'm getting is 2.58. Now since it's supposed to be correct to one decimal place, so you should convert this into 5.4 and this should be converted into 2.6. So these two are going to be the right answers. Right? Okay, so that's the question done and dusted as well. 39 marks completed in roughly 40 minutes. We're going at a good pace, but of course, it's going to slow down later. But I mean, the bigger questions, like roughly half of the paper is still needs to be done, right? So, question seven, I think, as when I remember opening this paper, I think question seven was somewhere around 20 marks, and question eight was somewhere around 30 marks, or maybe more than that, plus minus one. So, more than 50 marks was just of question seven, question eight. So, yeah, let's see. Okay, there was a lot of algebra in this one, I noticed. The city council has decided to improve. Okay, just leave it. There's no need to read all of that. Number of votes 40, 1180. Okay, this looks like a statistics question. Okay. Now, there is some problem that you people might not be able to access the entire screen. There is some problem here. I don't know what should I do. What can be done? If I just move it a bit right. Oh my God. No, I cannot do that. This is problematic. Okay, so the problem is that I cannot share the entire screen of question 6 and you people will be missing out on some important information. Well, okay. Well, there was, realistically speaking, there was nothing much. So it was just this screen maximized. So yeah, there's no need to uh, make this video into two parts. Yeah, it was the next page consisted of the same screen but a bit maximized. Okay, so yeah, you can take a screenshot of this and we can move forward. I hope you're done. So the city council will build the type of cycle facility that receives more than 55% of the total number of votes. Show that the city council will build a road with separate cycle, which means we have to show that more than 55% of the total votes should be in favor of that facility. So how many votes were there in total? Let's first see. If they mention no, I think we'll have to calculate it. 40 plus 1180 plus 1620. So that becomes 2840. These were the number of total votes. So total votes were 11, no, 2840. 2840. And in order to receive more than 55% of the total number of votes for the cycle facility, which one? Okay. So we have to focus on this one, 1620, right? So if you were to divide 1620 by 2840, so is that going to be more than 55%? I think it will be. 1620 divided by 2840. Yep, 57%. So like 0.57. And if we were to multiply it by 100, we will get somewhere around 57%. So yeah, the answer is correct. Okay, fascinating. Show, using the information given in the diagram, show that y equals 6 minus x. What? Using the information given in the diagram, show that y equals 6 minus x. Okay, now look that the total width is of 12.8, right? Let's just focus on this part. So if the entire width is 12.8, the half of it was going to be 6.4, right? Isn't it? Okay. So can I say that y plus x plus 0.4 equals 6.4? Definitely can, right? Okay. What if I move 0.4 here? So this becomes y plus x equals 6.4 minus 0.4 becomes 6. And y becomes 6 minus x. So here I've proved it. Given that y equals 3 over 2x and y equals 6 minus x, find the value of x and y. There's some electricity problem here. Okay. So basically this sort of a question is supposed to be solved simultaneously. So how do we attempt it? 3 over 2x should be equal to 6 minus x. And once we've done that, let's shift 2 to the other side. So basically 3x equals 12 minus 2x, right? Because this becomes 3x equals into 2, 6 minus x, right? 3x plus 2x equals 12. 5x equals 12. x equals 12 over 5. So this becomes 12 over 5 becomes 2.4. And in order to find the value of y, we should substitute this value into any of the two equations. So y equals 6 minus 2.4, that becomes 3.6. I hope this all makes sense to you people. The plan is to construct a 3-kilometer long road. Okay, this was the information. No, not really. With separated cycle paths, the cost to construct each part of the road is listed in the table below. Okay. So one cycle path consists of $0.6 million per kilometer. One barrier consists of $115 per meter, and one Carlin is 3.1. Now we know that there are supposed to be two barriers, two cycle paths, and two car lanes, right? So what's the first thing that we should do? 2 is supposed to be multiplied with 0.6. How did I arrive to this conclusion? I arrived it from the value that has been given above. Okay, and this is $115 per meter. So 115 for 1 meter. For 1,000 meters, it's supposed to be multiplied. So 115 multiplied by 1,000 becomes 115,000, right? Okay, and what else? And that's for 1 kilometer, right? So this becomes 2 multiplied by 0.6 million. Wait, I think I'm missing out on something. Yeah, okay. $1.2 million per kilometer, because I don't know if each and everything is supposed to be a kilometer or not. Like I don't know if the one cycle path is supposed to be 1 kilometer or one car lane is supposed to be 1 kilometer. But I mean, for what I'm sure is that each and everything is supposed to have two units at least, two values at least. 2 multiplied by 115 because 1,000. Yeah, and 2 multiplied by 3.1. All of this adds up to, this becomes 6.2. Wait, is there something that I'm missing out on? 3 kilometer long road. Let's assume that each and everything will be of 1 kilometer. Like the barrier is going to be of 1 kilometer, the cycle path is going to be of 1 kilometer, and the car lane is supposed to be of 1 kilometer. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we do it in this case? $0.6 million can be written as, and that's per kilometer. Oh my god, this is like confusing the hell out of me, because look, there are two cycle paths. It's not possible that each and everything is of 1 kilometer. Are we missing out on some information? No, we're not. Okay, let me just erase all of this. Let me think again. You guys think at the same time. The construct a 3 kilometer long road with separate cycle paths. The cost to construct each one cycle path is of $0.6 million per kilometer. So two cycle paths would be 1.2 million per kilometer. One barrier is 115 per meter. Now we have to convert this meter into kilometer, right? So how do we do it? 115. How many marks is this question? God damn it, 3 marks. Very important. This is being problematic. Okay, let's do it this way. Look, for the cycle paths, there must be two cycle paths without a shadow of doubt. And so basically 2 multiplied by 0.6 million multiplied by 3. Because one road consists of each and everything, right? So if we were to do this, we would get an answer of, let me, 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 0.6, 3.6 million. When it comes to that one barrier, so it's 115 per meter, right? So two barriers multiplied by 3000 meters, which is like basically 3 kilometers, multiplied by 115. This gives me an answer of 2 multiplied by, yeah, this gives me an answer of 0.69 million. I think this is the one that should make sense. And the car lane, what about this one? 3.1 million per kilometer. So two lanes we should be made, and of 3 kilometers, 3.1. Okay, this was this simple. I don't know what I was thinking. I was confused. Maybe this one should be a 1 kilometer, this one should be a 1, and this one should be of 1. It didn't make sense, but now it makes sense. So I think this is going to give me an answer of 18.6 million. So if we were to add all of these values together, 18.6 million plus 0.69 million plus 3.6 million. So we get a total answer of 22.89 million. Okay. Yeah, that's what the marking scheme says as well. So yeah, here we go. Question 7, 22 marks. You'll make calculations to help a community design a rooftop garden to show tomato plants. Tomato plants are okay. So part 1 says you have to calculate the volume of the pot. Give your answer to the nearest 10 centimeter cube. This is the pot, right? And this is the removed cone, which has a volume of 32,720 cm cube. And what's the total volume? Look, what's the formula for the volume? The formula for the volume is 1 over 3 multiplied by pi multiplied by r square h. So the total volume is, yeah, 1 over 3 multiplied by pi multiplied by 15 square multiplied by 240. So to calculate this, 1 over 3 multiplied by pi multiplied by 15 square multiplied by 240, we would get an answer of 5 no 56,548. Now the removed cone has this volume. Okay, let's move it down. 32,720. So what are we supposed to do in this case? We are simply supposed to subtract 32,720 from that answer, and we will get the answer of um, 23,829 to the nearest cm cube. I think to the nearest centimeter cube, this is going to be 23,830. You should be well aware with these um, estimations. Pots will be filled with soil up to 90% of maximum capacity. So determine the volume of in liters of needed for one pot. 90% of maximum capacity. So the volume that we had was of 23,829, right? Of that cone. And if you were to multiply that by its 90%, what answer would we get? 90 over 100. So if anyone can solve it, so you will get an answer of 23,829 multiplied by 90 over 100, or 0.9 as well, 21,446 centimeter cube. If you were to solve it in liters, then what would you have to do? You have to divide it by 1000, because 1 cm cube, because 1 milliliter, you need the answer in liters. So you have to divide the answer by 1000. So this becomes 21.446. And if you have to round it off, ideally you should write it as 21.5. Okay, Ji, I hope this makes sense. Determine the total cost to grow one tomato plant in a pot. Uh, Look, 1 liter of soil is of $0.4, and we have 21 liters of soil, right? 21.5. Let's write it 21.5 to get to our accurate values. So 21.5 multiplied by 0.4. So that gives us the answer of 8.4, right? Now 8.4 liters of soil is what we need. The cost of growing one tomato plant in that total, right? So we're just supposed to add all of these values together. 8.4 plus 6 plus 1.5. That pot costs 1.5. The tomato plant costs 6, and 1 liter of soil costs 8.4 in that case. So we get somewhere around 15.9 as the answer. So that's the correct value. Okay. Determine the length L1 for the square arrangement. The entire length of L1, uh, so basically this length is of 40 and this is supposed to be of 40 as well, and this is supposed to be of 40 as well. All of them are supposed to be 40. So you are going to get an answer of yeah, 160. Am I right? 160. Find the length of L2 for the triangular arrangement. Okay, this is 40. This is 40 as well. What's this? L2, the entire value of L. Should it be done using, how could we solve it? So look, the radius of the one circle is of 40 centimeters. So the diameter is supposed to be 80, right? So this entirety of this is going to be 80. This one is supposed to be 80, right? So the dashed lines, these connect the centers of the three mutually tangent circles, forming an equilateral triangle. So, and each side length is equal to the two radii, so basically 80 centimeters. If you were to calculate the height of this equilateral triangle, this one, I'm just trying, maybe it can work. I don't know. If you were to calculate this height, the vertical height of an equilateral triangle, this formula is not taught usually, but I don't know if some teachers teach it, some teachers don't. It's taught by the formula h equals under root 3 over 2s. That's a formula. But usually these types of questions are not really prevalent, so it's not usually taught a lot. So h equals under root 3 over 2s. So that gives us an answer of, if you were to substitute it, you would get under root 3 over 2 multiplied by 80 gives us an answer of 69.28. Now, if you want to calculate the value of L2, so now we know that since the entirety of this is 69.28, this is going to be of 40, and this is supposed to be of 40 as well. So 69.28 plus 80. So that gives us an answer of 149.28. So if you were to look at it on the marking scheme, yes, we get the right answer. But they are using the Pythagoras theorem. So how did they use the Pythagoras theorem? I don't know. X squared plus 40 square equals. Uh, okay, yeah, that makes sense as well. That makes sense, right? But this formula is what we were taught in IGCSE, so I just used it. So using the Pythagoras theorem works as well. So this becomes 149.28. Design a rooftop garden to grow the tomato plants. Your design should make best of. Okay, three relevant factors for your design. Look, this is what we have been given with, right? So the factors that we need to consider by default is, first things first, how much space has been given, space for growth. Secondly, the extents of the garden. And thirdly, the if you look at it, circular space for each tomato plant to grow. Okay, that's for the growth part, and that's the extents, or like let's say the length of the garden. That can be the value. What could be another factor? So the marking scheme says arrangement of the pots. Okay, let's just write it. But this is something that the marking scheme has helped me with. So I was out of ideas. Arrangement of pots. Okay. Calculations and justifications. So the ideal calculation method would be that you try to first things first understand that the entire length that has been given to us is of 360 and the width is of 290 and the dimension of the circle is of 80 centimeters, or what I think meters is the unit in centimeters, right? In centimeters, not meters. 80 meters is a lot of value. So yeah, this is what has been given to us. So we are supposed to justify it using our, at least you are supposed to calculate the value. How do we do it? Look, the correct calculation can be, first things first, try to understand the horizontal um, direction or the distance. Now look, 360 is the maximum limit of the length and 80 is what is required. So if you were to divide both of these values, we'll get 4.5, right? And 4.5, uh, basically 4.5 centimeters is the minimum length that must be followed, the criteria that must be fulfilled under any circumstance. Okay? So 4.5 is the minimum idea. And just like that, for the triangular, is there anything mentioned about the triangular? No, nothing much. Okay. Hmm. And what else? The another, the if you were to divide the width, so like let's say 290 divided by 80, this gives us 29 over 3.625. We're just doing the basic calculations. If we were to multiply both of these values and find the area, the total area that we have is of 104,400. That's the total area that we have. How do you divide it efficiently? What's the best way to do it? The best way to do it is by making sure that each and every value is contained within that total area. Okay, so that would be the best way to do it. So the best way to be using this sufficient space is by understanding that 4.5 does not exactly mean 4.5. It means the minimum value is of 4. And if you were to multiply 4 with 80, we get an answer of 320. So we are saving 40 centimeters of space. And just like that, 3 is the maximum, 3.625 is the maximum value, right? But by default, we'll consider 3. So 3 multiplied by 80 gives us the answer of 240, isn't it? So that's the horizontal for the vertical space, right? Now what? We know that the total number of plants is basically 4 horizontal and 3 vertical. So that's total of 12 plants, right? So you should know that while by default a triangular staggered packing can sometimes, squeeze an extra item in uh, typical geometry. Um, but if you were to design this layout on the canvas, how what you should do is that you should, in the rows portion, you should make 3 rows of circles, and in the column portion you should make 4 rows of circle. Now, the total cost would be of starting off with 12 plants, right? And what was the initial cost to grow the tomato plant for one? 12 was, I think, multiplied by 6, if I'm not wrong. Yep, one tomato plant was of 6. So 12 multiplied by 6 gives us an answer of 72. isn't it? Right? 72 is the answer that it gives us. So yeah, that's how you're going to understand this idea. Um, so how would you justify? This is the calculation part. How do you justify it? Justification can be done by understanding that yes, a total of 12 plants maximizes the utility of 360 multiplied by 290 centimeter rectangular plot, while uh, adhering to the idea of 80 centimeters personal growing zone needed for each tomato plant, and that leftover spaces of 40 and 50 centimeters along the length and width respectively, and it's perfectly sized to serve as some sort of walking pathways for a gardener to access water, harvesting the tomatoes without stepping inside the designated growing circles. So anything can work, right? So I'll just write it, not write it, I'll just draw something like this. That makes sense. One, two, three, four, three, three, three. So all of this space, the rest of it, this can be utilized efficiently. Harvesting, water, walking, anything, right? So yeah, that fits the criteria. So question number seven is done. In question number eight is what we're going to do in another video. Like and subscribe for more.